All right. Hello, everyone. Here we are, ready to roll with chakra number 3 into Manipura with David here. So, how are things today, David?
Manipura.
Mm-hmm.
Manipura means a city. Pura is a city or village or township, something. And Mani is a glowing jewel. So it's a city of glowing jewels, as it's called. And why
Right.
it's called that is because it is our power center, our manifestation power in this world. The energy we use to create with, essentially. And creativity is how we invent things and make things and build our civilization. You can invent things and then sell the things you invent and make money. So it's the center of material creativity. For that,
Right.
it can bring us abundance. Okay. And it's essential energy. We've gone from gravity to covalence, both of which are energies that are condensing and assembling things. Here we're getting into a combustion energy, which can blow things apart.
Mm-hmm.
Gives us the ability to change things at our molecular level in our body. It's the ability to change molecules from one type to another. We have to take apart the old molecules, and then usually it goes back to the liver, which rearranges the molecules, the atoms, into a different molecular structure. And this is part of our daily digestive process, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Right. Transformation is a word that's often associated or is associated with Manipura, transforming from one thing into another, right?
Yeah. Change, transformation, and from a scientific perspective, we're going from gravity, covalence, and combustion, which is a more of a scientific term of molecular change. Or when we burn something, it's no longer the same.
Right.
And in the Hindu tradition, we're getting into the deity called Shiva, which is the god of destruction and change. And that change is, again, transformation. It's the energetic world now, where we're away from molecular condensation into the continual flux and the dancing of the energy world at the electromagnetic level. And this is what's creating and changing the universe. And then
Mm-hmm.
we look at the sun, which is the radiant force that is changing molecules into electromagnetic energy that radiate outwards and get all the way from the sun to the earth in whatever, 8 or 9 minutes at that speed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the change to energy. And in our digestive system, it's the change of the food molecules to liberate energy that gives us the power of action and doing in this world.
Mm-hmm. Right. Fire. The speed of fire.
Element. Yeah. So in the elements, we now have earth, water, and fire.
Right.
The elements, again, are the way the alchemists used to call things in Europe, medieval Europe. And then the alchemists who were calling these things and using this terminology became the chemists, and then graduated into giant pharmaceutical corporations. All about the chemistry.
Right. The evolution of the alchemist has been quite destroyed, hasn't it?
Yeah, going in stranger directions. But originally, this understanding of earth, water, and fire was understanding of the elemental forces
Mm-hmm.
that create the entire universe, including us.
Right.
And how we can harness that and make the transformational changes we need in ourselves to get to these higher levels of consciousness, greater connection to the divine forces, etc. Ultimately, tapping into the consciousness of the universe and becoming more one with that.
Mm-hmm. So by understanding the function of the first three chakras, which is the building blocks and building materials and elements, then combining them and mixing them, and then coming into something with Manipura and creation, we're slowly heading up the chain of this higher thought and intention, right?
Yeah. Here we get into our empowerment, our creativity. We spoke last time of the social influence, of the going with the flow. This is the water element again. The society expects you to become this, to behave in a certain way, etc. When you step into Manipura, you have this inspiration and idea to do something, and this drive to action. You feel like climbing up a tree or going up a mountain and hiking or go traveling or something. And then you spontaneously do it, disregarding social influence. So it's a power that goes above the social and the social media of today and social influence of finding your own path. And this is the individual, I would say, individual spontaneous direction that comes from Manipura. And when you have that, you walk your own path. And sometimes you're a little disregarding, even disrespectful for whatever other people think you should be doing, because you have your own. I have my own vision.
Right. So someone who's got a properly spinning Manipura third chakra is going to manifest some sort of confidence and power, right?
Yeah, well, that develops into good leadership skills. And going back to the symbolism of the sun, the moon, and the earth, it's the sun that shines the light that we see reflected on the moon. And we see, well, the moon has light, but the moon doesn't have any light. So taking that back into the social circumstances, the energy that we're getting from other people, they're giving us their opinion about something they thought that they learned from somewhere else. Everything is a reflection at the second chakra level. And here you're into the source that lights everything else up. So the empowerment that comes from three is what then shines onto other people. It shines onto light up the moon. So symbolically, it's our light that then can inspire other people. So instead of being influenced by other people and going with what they want to do, you have a better idea. And then you end up being the leader, showing people a better way of doing something. So the creativity, the transformation that's there is sometimes breaking away from tradition.
Yeah, breaking away from expectations and the expectations that come from Swadhisthana.
Yeah.
From the social.
And the tradition of whatever culture you're raised in. But even in the yoga tradition, the tradition can hold you back from getting into the intuitive nature of yoga, where you're discovering and even feeling your own body and how to adjust yourself in a position, or how to go through the modifications of the mind and find what's the reality of my consciousness and how can I overview how my mind is running me and turn it around so that I am controlling and directing my own mind, my thoughts. So this transformation is part of the awakening as your own empowerment comes up and you override past circumstances, other influences, and walk your own path.
Right. So with the first chakra, also as we move up in complexity in their design and representation. So we go from 4 petals in the first chakra to 6 petals, in which you talked about the extra angles of the matrix and of this electromagnetic ocean.
Yeah.
Manipura moves into
and the 36 degrees, which is
36 degrees, which is 10 petals, right?
Yeah, 10 petals, 36 degrees, and that's a different angle of perception, which it will do if you're born with a lot of that energy. Your perception on life is change, transformation, action, as opposed to just being or socially connecting. And these angles, I mean, if you think of 90 degrees, you drop a rock into the water and it goes bloop straight in. Okay, now at 36 degrees, you're standing on the shore and you throw a rock and it's going to skip. It's not going to go directly in, it's going to skip. So there's a change there, a different angle, different momentum, and get a different effect. So instead of things coming together, you get boing, things bouncing off and transformation and change as a result of that. Now at that angle, the energy goes in and breaks apart the molecular bonds of that are holding things together at 90 degrees and allowing fluidity at 60 degrees. Here, the angles change enough and the bonds are broken. The covalent bonds are broken.
And yeah, into a form of transformation. Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some good activities, some good exercises or breathing that one can do to activate?
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the 10 petals.
Okay.
There are actions. This is our action center.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10 petals are again connected physiologically to different action part of our being to create momentum, movement, etc. But there are actions to be done and actions that are detrimental. And these are known as the yama niyama. There's 5 yama, 5 niyama. 5 actions that are going to create an evolutionary development in us, and 5 actions that are going to keep us spinning down into the world, going in circles.
Mm-hmm.
In other religions, we have what's called the 10 Commandments, which is bringing us into moral and ethical behavior. And that's the yama niyama in yoga. So when you're looking at that, you apply this to many aspects of your life, including Manipura is connected to the pancreas, to digestion. What are you going to digest? Which foods are you going to choose? Once you learn about better nutrition and which foods are the best for you, you choose the better food. And this is a change in, well, I was brought up in a diet of meat and potatoes and maybe some carrots on the side. Now I'm much more vegetarian, vegan, and I'm much healthier because of that, and I'm lighter, etc. And you choose what's the best thing for you to eat, and you have to have a degree of experience with that. Play around, experiment with different diets.
Yeah. So
this ability to change your habits is an important part of the third chakra, Manipura. And the ability to delete the old habit, format a new habit. And you mentioned, well, breathing. Pranayama yoga is connected to Manipura. And this is the whole art of breathing, of which there's beginning with how to breathe with the abdominal, the middle, the upper section, how to put it all together. And then you got all these breathing techniques to dive into your subconscious and pull out the weeds and the traumatic things that have affected you, and then create better patterns, empower each of the chakras with specific breathing techniques. And there are many techniques, and you need to spend time practicing these techniques. It's not like you go to a yoga class and, okay, I learned alternate nostril breathing. We did 2 minutes of it. In the reality, you need to do hours of specific breathing techniques to change a deficiency in your pancreas, let's say, or to reboot your immune system, which also can be done with breathing techniques. So this is
well, it's interesting. I just want to point out, the breathing, bringing in oxygen, fire is the element of Manipura, and bringing in oxygen is a fuel
Yeah,
of sort.
yeah. It's like blowing into the fire to light things up.
You're fueling your system, you're giving it more oxygen, you're giving it more prana, giving it more of everything, right? At that
Yeah.
level, is it more the oxygen, or does prana play a role throughout
Well,
the
yeah,
body?
both. Because
Mhm.
the oxygen goes in to fuel your body, all the cells, and create all the action. The prana, which is why it's called pranayama. Pranayama means energy control. It doesn't mean breathing, but
No.
breathing is our tool to
Mhm.
access this energy, and the prana is the energy, which goes directly into the brain, into the nervous system, while the oxygen goes in to fuel and empower the body chemically. The prana is a different thing. And again, the
Mhm.
prana is the extra electrons that are floating around in the natural environment. On every oxygen atom, you've got extra electrons that don't go into the lungs. They get sucked in through the olfactory bulb, the sense that we smell with. And directly, a big nerve channel goes to the back of the brain. This is our energy source. And pranayama is how we access this and gain more energy. Then we can direct it to this chakra, that chakra. But it's our first hold on the energy world,
Right.
which is being known. The Chinese have the concept of qi, on
Mhm.
balancing the qi and unblocking it here and there. Yoga has the whole pranayama side of dealing with the energy. Because everything is
Mhm.
energy, everything is directed by energy. Everything happens through impulses from the nervous system to activate subconsciously the digestive process, the immune process, etc. It's all part of how it works. The energy needs to come from the nervous system to initiate the action. And then the action can only happen if the oxygen is there to make it happen at the physiological level. But
Mhm.
just like
Right.
you make a decision to do something, it's not the muscle that decides to do something. It's the brain. It's the energy impulses that come from the brain to direct the action.
Mhm.
That's the prana side of it. Without the energy, well, unplug your computer,
Mhm.
unplug the batteries, and everything stops.
See
So
how long it.
the prana is considered primary. The oxygen is secondary. Because if the prana cuts, everything stops immediately. If the oxygen stops, it takes quite a few minutes before you actually die. But the
Right.
prana is instant termination, turning off the
Right.
switch.
So good to get into pranayama, which is control of that breath,
Yeah.
control of that energy, right? That's what the word stands for.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Any other physical asanas or postures that can fuel uh, that part of us?
There are specific postures that can activate the digestive system. There's a series of postures and positions that can trigger and activate the pancreas, for instance. If you are prone to become diabetic, or the possibilities there because it was in your parents, you can compensate for that. Bring more prana into the pancreas, bring more oxygen into that. Again, just the act of breathing. When you do abdominal breathing, for instance, you got to think that just underneath the diaphragm, you've got this attachment to stomach, liver, and pancreas. And every time you're moving the diaphragm down and up with the abdominal breath, you're creating a massage on these areas. So
Right.
if the pancreas has the prana it needs and has the oxygen it needs, it will be fully functional.
It will function.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you get into the mind body connection in yoga. If you have been told, programmed with the idea that diabetes is in your family, you have a 60% chance of developing it, and that's in your mind.
Mhm.
that is going to interfere with a positive energy prana flow to the pancreas. And it's
Mhm.
going to become dysfunctional because of this is a psychological block, the belief
Right.
system.
Mhm.
So with the pranayama and these techniques, you'll learn to change your belief system,
Mhm.
understanding that actually, if my pancreas has the nutrition it needs, if it's not overloaded with constant sugar rushes, and it's got prana and oxygen, um, changes things. You can rebalance it, reset it, and have, eliminate your diabetic conditions.
Yeah. Perfect. So, in fact, that's why pranayama yoga is associated with Manipura, the third chakra, is that it is the most appropriate of the yogas to practice. It's so deep
Yeah.
breathing exercises and
Yeah,
excellent.
when you put that together with the postures of the asanas and the motion, you're getting prana to the nervous system, oxygen to the body, circulation is delivering it everywhere, and you recreate your health, bring your health back into peak performance.
Hmm.
So yoga has these techniques with pranayama and asanas and movement to physiologically recondition every part of the body. And what I'm saying about you have to make the mind connection too. What's your belief system? And if you don't have that in place, then the physiological isn't going to be as functional as it could be. And this is where we make the change. What you've been taught, the social influence has conditioned us to have, oh, everybody can get cancer. Everybody can, disease just happens to us. And you start to realize, well, it happens if you expect it to happen. And you have to follow the rules of disease, which is bad nutrition, bad breathing, smoking, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I've lived in different cultures all over the world, and I've lived in cultures that are very distant and removed from the normal diseases of our hospitals, like the cancer, and
Yeah.
in countries where they're not aware of it, there's a very low amount of it.
Yeah.
It's not even, they don't even know about it, so they don't know how to invent it,
Yeah. How to create that.
how to create it in themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the social influence coming from modern civilization will introduce them to all these problems. But
Hmm.
by nature, we are healthy.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of pranayama and yoga and asanas, is that when we practice these things, move our bodies, extend in the circulation to all the remote parts of our body, fuel it properly,
Yeah.
it auto regulates. It
Yeah.
takes care of itself. It's not, you're not dealing with a specific disease, you're dealing with just having an operating system that
Right.
works properly.
Yeah. And all diseases are simply prevented.
Yeah, because diseases represent an imbalance, and
Yeah. And here, this is where we make the change to do the right actions, eliminate the wrong actions. And there's another aspect just above the third chakra before you get into the fourth. There's a barrier called Vishnu Granthi in yoga. And this is a Granthi is a knot, an entanglement, which creates a barrier to your evolution. And this one has to do with your habits, your habitual behavior patterns, including all of your eating habits, the foods you eat, how well you chew your food, and all these things to create optimal health. And we all have habits that maybe I have a little addiction to chocolate bars or something, or potato chips. These are bad habits. And the transformation ability is applied to look at all your habits here and change a bad habit to a good habit. A bad breathing habit to a more complete breathing pattern. Bad eating habit to a better eating habit. And then to your social interactions with people. And again, the yama, niyama, the morals and ethics of yoga, changing the things which are habitual behavior patterns that are maybe destroying you. Okay, I have a smoking habit. It's a habit. And your whole nervous system is wired, and the way the prana flows to reach for the next cigarette, bring it to your mouth and light it, this conditioned behavior that you're not even thinking about anymore. These are the things you look at and change because, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of destroying my lungs. I need to stop this.
Yeah. It takes a long time to reprogram those habits, doesn't it? I mean, I think I look at myself and integrating yoga into a daily practice, and really it took months and months in different parts of my life to really reintegrate it, where instead of, I never had the smoking problem, but instead of that ritual and that instinct of pulling a cigarette out and going through that, all those, I get into memory patterns and let's call it an addiction to doing yoga and making myself feel better. And then afterwards reveling in it and going, wow, I really do feel better. I feel better overall. It's like sometimes it's almost hard to describe. It feels like a nice stone state, you know?
So at the level of our chakras and looking at Earth, Moon, and Sun, and this is our planetary aspect in our part of the universe here, the solar system, which is tangible and real. When we get to 4, it goes into the esoteric, the energetic aspect, the expansion factor. But here we've got the working of the 3rd chakra is providing the digestion, which then goes down and fuels the body. And then when the body needs more, the energy comes up, it hits that Manipura, and we feel it as hunger, and we react. So this is the reaction center also, which we need to change some of our reactions on the evolutionary path. And instead of feeling hunger and reacting by eating, we feel the hunger and we breathe instead, and the feeling changes. Right. And this is how you get the energy up through the normal workings of physical being to rise up into the 4th chakra, 5th chakra, etc. Right. So we have this triangle of the first 3 chakras that are governing our material existence. And then we start rising up into the more evolutionary aspects of 4th, 5th, and 6th chakras, and up to the 7th.
Right. Good. Well, perfect. That leads us to getting ready to do the 4th chakra on Anahata, the heart chakra, which will come next.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Great.
So that was great. Manipura, 3rd chakra covered. And
digest it.
And digest that information.
Yeah.
All right. Until
good for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
You
Namaste.
Okay.